You need not worry about Reds franchise. It'll be coming, but a lot of people have been wanting an update on my Dynasty League. I gave you guys an episode at the very start of the year with the drafted team and the league rules and things like that. So if you're interested in the settings and the rules, go back to the first episode. There's only been one. This is number 2 now, midway through the year. I wanted to do this during the All-Star break, but I didn't, and now we're doing it pre-trade deadline. So as you're seeing this, it's probably trade deadline day. Maybe some crazy things are happening. Like, for example, this is my Week 1 team. Now, so much has changed from this Week 1 team to where we are now. I no longer have Will Myers or Jesse Winker. Will Myers was involved in a trade for Ryan McMahon, who I have since traded back to the guy I traded with for Ryan McMahon. It's an interesting team. I've traded Ezekiel Tovar. I've traded Miguel Vargas and Eddie Rodriguez and Seth Brown. I've dropped Cedon Rafaela. I mean, the list is too long to even mention for players I no longer have. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at what the current team looks like and how I've actually acquired these players. I'll do week 18 because it goes up with the moves I've made already. So Will Smith remains my catcher. He's been very, very good for me so far. He mainly starts for me every single time at catcher. That kind of should be obvious because of how good he is. But if you do remember, I also happen to have Sean Murphy, who is the number 2 catcher. However, he just doesn't play every day. He plays 2 days and then sits, and then 2 days and sits. This was 1 day and then is sitting the next day. I just can't rely on him because he doesn't play enough. My strategy in fantasy has been get the guys with the most at-bats. You have a higher chance of getting more points, clearly. But as good as Sean Murphy has been, if you were to start him during a week where he's cold, you've given away the position. And Will Smith not only plays pretty much every day, he catches when he isn't behind the plate. So he's just typically a guy you want to have in there. Very, very good hitter. Has been solid for me. Freddie is unbelievable. Our league values home runs a lot, and he's hit quite a few of them. But Matt Olson has hit a billion home runs. He probably is closing in on 40 right now, and that's why Matt Olson is the number 1 catcher. That's why. Nolan Gorman was super hot, cooled down a lot, started to get hot again, but is going through some injury stuff right now, so he's kind of been held out of the lineup. I've recently traded for Austin Riley. He's a number 2 third baseman now after being red hot, and I traded for him at the most opportune time possible. July 7th, I traded for him and Freddie Peralta. I traded Ryan McMahon, who has been hot lately, but doesn't matter, obviously. Marcus Stroman, who has gone way downhill, but was a top 10 pitcher when I traded him. Emmett Sheehan, who is in a dynasty league, pretty valuable potentially as a, mid-rotation starter for a really good team of the Dodgers. And Luis Matos. Tay is a Giants fan. That's who I traded him to. And he hasn't been all that great. Ellie De La Cruz was, of course, drafted. He is electric. Been slumping a little bit in the second half so far, but he's someone who's so valuable because he doesn't really need to do a whole lot to score points because he steals bases. He scores when he's on base. The guy pretty much scores every time he gets on base. It's pretty impressive, and obviously has some unreal pop as well. So he's somebody that is just capable of scoring a lot of points even when they're not hitting as much. Tatis has been cold lately, but is obviously incredible. Acuna, one of the best players in the league. James Outman has not been in the lineup. Got super, super cold after a hot start, but is kind of looking good again. So he might end up getting some starts for me at some point. Lane Thomas I picked up in free agency. He's been a really solid player. Didn't start him this week, though. He was a little bit cold leading into it, so just decided to go a different direction. But 11 points today could have been the wrong decision. Certainly could have been. Matt McLain was someone who was not on my team at the start of the year, but has been a phenomenal pickup for me. I picked him up April 27th when he was still in the minor leagues. And in a dynasty league, you got to kind of be on top of these prospects in order to potentially claim them. Matt McLain has been very, very, very good. Can play shortstop and second, but that second base eligibility makes him incredibly valuable. And I'm just so loaded at shortstop with Ellie and with Francisco Lindor, who you'll see in a second. I traded for him. And Fernando, at least for this year, still has shortstop eligibility. And then Matt McLain and then Jordan Westberg, who I traded for. Let's go ahead and keep on going here. JD Martinez, traded for with Endy Rodriguez, who I drafted. And he is like a rental type player because he's old and he's a DH, but he still just hits. So don't mind moving Endy for him at all. Endy Rodriguez might be better, on a 5 or 10 year stretch, but JD should still be good at least for this year when I'm trying to win a fantasy championship. Of course, still have Volpe, Gleyber Torres, Sean Murphy, Hunter Renfroe, Isak Paredes, who I drafted. I said this could be a sneaky one. Well, he doesn't play every day, but when he does, he offers a ton of power, pulls the ball in the air, is really conducive to fantasy points that way. Pull the ball in the air, it's a lot of home runs, a lot of extra base hits. Anthony Rizzo I traded for, and it was good for a time. He's really, really, really cooled off, and I have not played him for some time now. I traded him to Clutch or Chang, and I traded Joey Gallo, Elias Diaz, Drew Smiley, who was quite good at the time, and Seth Brown to get Gavin Stone, who has since been dropped, very bad at the major league level and minors this year, and of course Anthony Rizzo. And it's kind of a wash trade right now. You could say maybe I got the worst part of this one, but not too bad. Jordan Westberg, I believe I traded for. I added Christopher Morel from free agency and then traded him to Healy, who's a Cubs fan. I got Jordan Westberg back and Healy's first round pick. So that was good on my end. Colt Keith, I added in free agency. Really ascending top prospect for the Detroit Tigers. Jonathan Clase, I traded for. Jonathan was traded for Ezekiel Tovar. I just preferred having an outfielder who's young. He's not really hitting well in the minors right now, unfortunately. But yeah, Tovar playing every day for the Rockies. Would it be nice to have him? I guess, but I'd never play him because I have so much depth at shortstop. So, maybe long term I lose out on that one, but I'm not really too mad about it. But Lindor, huge trade for me with Mr. Hurricane. I traded Luke Raley, who I added in free agency, and Xander Bogaerts, who I drafted, for Giancarlo Stanton, who has actually helped me win some weeks. I know he's been cold, but Lindor is the huge add here. Francisco Lindor is very, very good. Shortstop 1 now. I traded for him. I think he was number 2 or 3. But he is such a good player. Just hits home runs. I mean, he is a beast. Now, I don't know if I put him in the lineup this week, come to think of it, which could end up being a pretty huge mistake. No, he's a utility player for me. I could move him out, but we're not going to do that. He's hitting the ball so well right now. Giancarlo, you know about. Brian Reynolds was in a recent big trade for me. I traded Clark Schmidt, who I added from free agency. Connor Phillips, who's one of the top prospects, pitching prospects for the Reds. I think leads the MILB in strikeouts this year. And Miguel Vargas, who I drafted to get Felix Bautista, the number 1 reliever, and Brian Reynolds. And I also traded away my second round pick. Don't really care about that. We got the number 1 reliever. Clark Schmidt is a top 10 reliever, funnily enough. And I'll trade prospects to get guys that can perform now, especially when I'm, potentially going to win a championship here. We'll talk about where I am in the standings in a minute. Matt Wallner added from free agency. I'm actually going to roll the dice and start him this week. He hits home runs. I was kind of surprised he was available in free agency, but he was. And I've kind of added him and dropped him a couple times. And I think I'm going to be holding on to him at this point. And hopefully it pays off. Big time power hitter. I like the potential. Grichuk, I added from free agency. I kind of like to juggle different players. He had been super hot. You can't see it because he just got traded from the Rockies to the Angels, but hit a home run tonight. I didn't have him starting this week, unfortunately, but that was big. Just added Adam Duvall as well. A lot of these players at the bottom of my lineup could end up being cut pretty easily. Duvall is somebody who, when healthy, can certainly hit a little bit. So I'm taking the chance on him. And maybe I see a week where he looks like he's going to play a lot, or stay in the lineup, of course, and hit. So I like the idea of having him at least as an option against good matchups. As for pitching, we have Luis Castillo, who is starting pitcher 5. He's starting to really get it going after some not so great stretches this year. Dylan Cease has been very up and down. Not really a guy I can trust, unfortunately, for what I was hoping to be, near an ace. Andrew Abbott was added in free agency in April. a lot of these prospects are going to be available, especially because we didn't know who was going to rise throughout the minors this year. Abbott got roughed up today, unfortunately for me, negative 3.5 points on a Monday, but he does have a double start to make up for it against the Nationals on Saturday. Hopefully he shoves. He can go out, get, 50 to 100 points, like he has the potential to do at least. That would make up for the negative start. So we're hoping that he could at least do 50 plus, but that is not necessarily easy. Braxton Garrett was added from free agency. He had an electric stretch and then a not-so-good stretch recently. So I'm not really sure what to believe with him at the moment. Kenta Maeda, I added from free agency. Juggled him a little bit this year, but we've been holding him. He's going to be a top pitcher. He gets strikeouts. Kenta Maeda is a decent option. Freddie Peralta, we traded for. Felix Bautista as well. Steven Matz picked up in free agency. Got a double start for me last week. And Steven Matz just might be good as a starter now. But he's someone we're playing matchups against. I did start him this week. He is versus Colorado. Not a great lineup on the road. I like that matchup. And he has relief pitcher eligibility. So kind of sneaky points there. Sevy's been awful. Josh Hader I have on the bench right now. He's playing at Coors this week. Just didn't feel great about it, especially pitching back-to-back days. So I sat him for Steven Matz. Just don't think Hader has 60-point potential this week. And I think Steven Matz does. Bryce Miller was a phenomenal add in free agency. I picked him up on the day of his first start and has just gone out and shoved. Has had a couple tough stretches, but has overall been very, very good. Electric fastball. Hoping he develops some secondaries, but it's a really good prospect at the major league level, essentially. Brian Wu, I should have been able to add in free agency, but he wasn't in the player pool. So when he was finally added, somebody beat me to him on waivers, and I was forced to trade for him. I traded Brian Bayo. I know that seems like maybe not a great trade. Wu has higher strikeout potential in our league. That's more valuable, in my opinion. Jacob Mizorowski, I'm holding. He is extremely wild, but does have an electric fastball and slider. Hopefully he can harness those pitches, and hopefully the control comes with time, but it might not. Luis Medina was recently added. He might have something. Getting a lot of strikeouts with the breaking ball. So rolling the dice. I do a lot of dice rolling with the bottom of my roster, as I think you should. And then on the IL, we have Andrew Painter, top prospect, but going to have Tommy John surgery, or already did. Tyler Mahle, same deal. Mason Miller could be back soon. Another young prospect that at the major league level, I feel like that's extremely valuable. My light here is going crazy. And then Frankie Montas is going to get dropped at some point. And then Hyunjin Ryu, I just picked up, and he has a double start next week. So I'm going to hold him on my IL and then probably drop somebody and double start him next week, depending on how his start against the Orioles goes tomorrow, or today as I record this, today probably as you see this. So we'll see what happens with that. He's only going every 6 days right now. So he should start against Cleveland and then Chicago. And I like those matchups. I do. Chicago has been hitting a little bit more of late, but I think those are decent matchups for points in a double start week. You kind of have to do it. So that's what we're rolling with. And then in the league standings, and I do have Kane's first round pick. I didn't mention it, but I traded Josh Lowe, who was a free agent added, and he was great for me for a month or so. I traded Josh Lowe to Mr. Hurricane, who is currently 3-13. I traded Josh Lowe for his first round pick. So that could be incredibly valuable. Here's how the standings look right now. I'm 12-4, top of the league. And if you look at points for and points against, I have scored over 16,000 points so far this year. No one else has eclipsed 15,000. I'm certainly the league favorite right now, and my pitching hasn't been that great. Guys like, Antonio just passed 13,000. Tay is a little over 13,000. Kane and Cheng are both still under 14,000. I'm over 16,000. I mean, the league really has not gone poorly for me at all. I've had a couple of tough losses to Tay and to Cheng, actually. But we've got a great team. We should win a lot of our matchups, so it feels really nice. And I think part of that reason is I focus a lot on ABs. Lead the league in at-bats, lead the league in hits, lead the league in runs, lead the league in doubles, middle of the pack for triples, second in home runs, second in RBIs, middle of the pack for walks, funnily enough, kind of near the top of the league in hit by pitch, way ahead in terms of stolen bases and also caught stealing, unfortunately. We've had a cycle for Ellie De La Cruz, and then for pitching, that's been a bit rough, but it's starting to get better for me. We are near the top half of the league for innings pitched. You get points for innings, which is outs. For hits, you want to be as low as possible. We're about middle of the pack. Earned runs, about middle of the pack. Giving up a lot of home runs, though, unfortunately. Bottom of the league or near in that. Walks, middle of the pack. Hit batters, middle of the pack. Ks, we're working up. We're over 900 now. Ks are valuable in our league. Super valuable, so you want to have as many of those as possible. And you get points for winning. My record was so bad, but it's starting to creep up. The wins are starting to pile up. The losses are going down or staying where they are for the most part. And of course, when you have Josh Hader and now Felix Bautista, my save number should only go up and up and up and up and up. So things are looking good right now. I don't really care about saves as long as we're getting points from our relievers. If I start a starter with relief pitcher eligibility in that spot, I'm totally fine with that. Points allowed, we're about middle of the pack, so we've gotten not lucky or unlucky, really. And, of course, most points scored in the league. So, doing great. I've made so many moves, but I'm okay with that because you can day trade if it results in success, and it has. Currently, we have a 100% chance to make the playoffs, so I'm in. Doesn't matter what happens at this point, but still would obviously like to win, get the number 1 seed. And we'll see what ends up happening. So that is the fantasy update for those who are interested. I know this would not be a video for everybody, but when we have, let's see here, including this week, 5 more weeks before the playoffs, it could be an interesting stretch down the road here. We've been very, very good so far, and we'll see if we can get the job done against Healy. I have his first-round pick, so obviously I am quite incentivized to beat him and improve that draft pick. And I no longer have my first-round pick. That was traded. I think to Kane. We swapped firsts. And Josh Lowe. I think. Pretty sure about that. Either way, we'll see what ends up happening. But for those who are interested in the fantasy update and the state of my roster and team, that's where we are right now. There are some prospects I like that are currently not in the player pool. But that's just kind of the way that goes. In terms of the top free agents available, it was J.P. Crawford, but now it's Carlos Santana. I've thought about it. I think I added him briefly, and then went for Adam Duvall instead. He's got first base and DH. First base, I have Freddie Freeman, so he'd have to play utility, which I just didn't really want to do. So, and we'll see what ends up happening, but that's where things stand. Most of the top prospects are claimed. There are, and what a year for Jose Urena. There are, and we'll see if somebody claims Dean Kramer, by the way. I just dropped him in order to pick up Luis Medina. He served his purpose, got a double start for me, got 70 points. So, we'll take it. Don't need him on the roster. I've rostered Domingo Germán so many times this year. It's mostly just me in here and then Wheels in the middle. But yeah, if you have any ideas about how I could make the team better, I am all ears. But thank you for watching the fantasy update. And I guess I'll see you closer to the playoffs or at the end of the season. And maybe more regular videos next year. This is my first year playing fantasy baseball. It's tough because I don't really want to talk through my entire strategy and moves I'm thinking about making, prospects I'm thinking about adding. Because then if players in the league see it, they're going to know what I'm going to do. And they can beat me to it, which I don't want to do. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see what happens next year. And I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.